the audit fully, before because we don't approve the audit, we acknowledge the audit, so, there is a distinction between two. But I think everyone's had enough time to review it. So are we now at the point where we need to start making motions? Do I have a motion on the table?
I move to acknowledge the receipt of the comprehensive annual financial report for the years ending June 30th, 2011 and 2010.
I second it.
Any discussion? Hearing none? Could you call the vote, please?
Yes, Commissioner Cardwell,
Yes.
Commissioner Holloway,
Yes.
Commissioner Kemper,
Yes.
Commissioner Sterling,
No.
and Commissioner Kehoe.
Yes.
4 yeses, 1 no. Motion passes.
So here's our gross payroll amounts and accounts paid for January. We had 2 payrolls in January. I've listed the pay dates and the dollar amounts. Also, our net accounts payable for December was $707,000. I'm sorry, that's the net payable for January. Excuse me. I thought I looked this over many, many times. Anyway, so for January it was $707,000. That did include the SDAO insurance payment of $182,000. Approximately $71,000 was for CIP projects.
Oh, do I have a motion on the table?
Yeah, I move to acknowledge payroll in the gross amount of $215,616.85 and acknowledge the net accounts paid of $707,510.97 for the month of January 2012.
Okay, do I have a second?
I second it.
Thank you. Discussion?
I have a question for you, Carol. The Regional Water Providers Consortium payment, was that on the blanket approvals at the beginning of the fiscal year?
I can answer this. The invoice comes out in July and the payment happens in September.
Well, that's not my question. My question is, was it on the blanket approvals? It was over 50,000.
I don't know that. I would have to look.
Yeah, I will send you the approved budget that was approved. I had questions about it. I was supported by the mayor of Lake Oswego, and that was it, unfortunately. But they amended the budget. They had a new budget at the meeting, so what Patty sent me by email, I did not forward yet because she has not sent me the amended budget. So I'm waiting for that before I send it off to you.
No, I just don't know what the amount is, and if it's over 50,000, then either it would have had to be included in the blanket approvals, or Commissioner Kehoe would need to come to the board for approval.
And it will be on a future agenda.
Okay.
And I don't think Carol
yeah,
knows what the answer is,
I
which
don't
is
know
why I
that.
answered.
I don't have that listed in front of me.
All right, and again, I certainly am not going to move to approve either payroll until we have sufficient information to know what individual payrolls actually are, as all of our other water districts get.
Trish, can you call the vote, please?
Yes, Commissioner Cardwell, excuse me,
Yes.
Commissioner Holloway,
No.
Commissioner Kemper,
Yes.
Commissioner Sterling,
No.
Commissioner Kehoe.
Yes.
It passes with a vote of 3 to 2. 3 yes, 2 no. Thank you.
So the next thing I'd like to move on to agenda item 5, which is discussion of scheduling a rate hearing.
Carol, while we're still in your financial report, relative to the,
We've already voted on it, Pat. You had time for discussion, and we're moving on.
well,
Agenda item
you
number 5, please.
promised us the Jody Cochran stuff, and we have.
Okay, well, you had time to discuss it, and you didn't. We're on agenda item number 5.
Okay, Cammy, if you don't care about our $128,600, that's your prerogative.
First, I'd like to report some progress on where we are with the rate analysis in the rate committee. Our first rate committee meeting is scheduled for 6 p.m. on February 15th. All of the rate committee members have been contacted, and I believe we have responses from maybe all but one. We will be making follow-up reminder phone calls on Monday of that week to remind them of the meeting. Additional meetings will be scheduled at that time. I also sent an email to the commissioners basically asking for commissioners' issues or concerns, desired outcomes of this process, and I haven't gotten any response from anyone on the board, so I would then ask if you have any direction that you would like to provide to me before the meeting. I welcome.
I didn't respond because I don't know anything about the process that you're undertaking, so I can't comment.
The question wasn't if you had concerns about the process, it was if you have any concerns on issues, desired outcomes. It was pretty general question, Pat.
Related to our current rates.
How is anyone on the budget, or the rate budget committee supposed to take and send anything to you if they don't have any methodology as to how it currently is being formulated? What's going to be there for them to read, study, become familiar with our rate structure so they can take and come and be a positive contribution to the group as a whole?
Well, this is not going to be a one-meeting event. I asked this of the board members because I believe that the board members have some understanding of our rates and our billing and all that. We will have a presentation at the meeting for the rate committee members, and that presentation will be by our rate analyst. And after that presentation is done, then we will have that discussion with the rate committee members, asking them what their issues or concerns and if they have any specific desired outcomes.
Well, I guess after I hear what the rate consultant is outlining, then I will know.
Okay.
I'll be able to formulate an answer for you.
Hopefully, any and all of the board will be attending the meeting. They'll be able to see the presentation.
No, I won't be.
I'm
gonna let the public process work its way.
But I
It
will,
should.
after the meeting, I will provide copies of the rate analyst presentation to the board members as well.
Thank you.
Carol, excuse me.
Yes.
How is that being noticed? Is it a work session or what is it?
It is a public meeting. It's obviously, since it's a rate committee, they're an advisory committee, so there will be no decisions made at that meeting. But it will be advertised in the paper tomorrow, and we have notices on the building and the other places that we put notices to the public.
So is public comment going to be allowed, or?
I plan on allowing public comment at the end. I have no idea how many people will show up, but it will be limited to 3 minutes per person.
So any of us would be the same as public when we come here?
Absolutely.
We have no authority as a commissioner to.
Absolutely.
Any more than any other ratepayer that would walk in.
Correct.
Carol, I had sent a question back to you when, actually, I'm not sure if it went to you or to Mr. Moore. When we got the copy of the rate consultant's contract, the scope of services was not defined. They had submitted a proposal that listed this very long laundry list of services that they could offer. And my question, which has not been answered, was which of those services did CRW in fact buy? And that's one reason I can't answer your question, because I don't know what they are supposed to do. If they were gonna do everything on that list for whatever the price was, I'd be very surprised.
They will do the analysis that they said. We attached their proposal as the scope of services. So that is the scope of services.
Okay, so they're performing all those services for that price.
Yes.
That'll be interesting. Hope it works.
So what I'm here to ask this evening is having the rate committee meet and make a recommendation to the board. And then presenting that recommendation, and I'm hoping at the March meeting, I would like to ask the board to schedule a rate hearing in the month of March to deliberate on the recommendation. And I would also like that to be a special meeting so that the board can then, after the rate hearing, make a decision on the recommendation or any changes that the board deems appropriate. The reason I'm kind of putting in this time frame is I would very much like to put a notice to the ratepayers in their February bill of a rate hearing, and in that notice, I have to tell them what day. So,
And how is the process going? I know the rate committee has not met yet. Where are the consultants in terms of, where are they? Is it a situation where they are going to be making a presentation of their findings and recommendations to the rate committee?
no, I didn't, what they have done, they have received some data, and they're kind of analyzing, being able to define and articulate the problem, what our revenue needs are. Then, in discussion with the rate committee, they will go back and utilize that input to try to determine a solution.
So they will be saying to the rate committee, based on our analysis, here are your expenses and here's where your revenue is now and this is where you need to be in the future?
Mm-hmm. And they're looking kind of at the big picture related to infrastructure, capital improvements, and, even future potential debt. So, but there's no decision is being made. If we already had the answer, it would be a waste of the rate committee's time.
Yeah, no, I understand
The
that.
rate
I'm
committee-
just trying to understand what the rate committee's.
So they do have data. They've looked at our financials, they've looked at our budget, they've got a lot of information like that. But they have not come to any conclusions because they want the input from the rate committee.
So it sounds to me like a process that's pretty analogous to our budget process, where people, the rate committee, are not gonna be intimately familiar with
That's correct.
our information.
Well, that's not true. We have former commissioners on that rate committee. Actually, I think we have 3. So I think we'll have some rate
Yeah,
committee
Cindy.
members that are familiar with the way our rate structure is. Yeah, we have Gary Kerr, we have Bill Schulenberg, and we have Cindy. That's 3.
But it's rather like the budget process, in that they'll be presented with some information, some data.
And have
So are you
opportunities
looking-
to ask questions. And
Are you looking at the 3rd week in March or 4th? Because you said that we have a budget committee meeting possibly in April, right?
Right.
First week of April?
So yes, I would say the 3rd or the 4th week of March.
Okay,
And I
what is your
believe,
staff? What's the easiest for your?
Mr. Kerr, you said Tuesdays are not
Tuesdays,
are not good days for Mr. Kerr, so if we can pick a different day than a Tuesday, that would be fabulous.
Okay, and what does your staff need in order to be prepared for that rate hearing if we have the budget process coming up, which week is?
It's kind of jumbled on top of each other, but I think what we're gonna do in the proposed budget is rates as they currently exist.
Okay.
And if we know before the budget meeting that there's a difference, then we can discuss that as part of the budget process. And, I'm really going to rely on the rate analyst to kind of provide the information for that rate hearing and be able to, they'll be there, basically to be able to drill down and kind of explain how we got where we get.
Okay.
So what date are you looking at?
Do you have a preference as to which week?
No.
And you're having 2 rate committee meetings?
I believe we will have a
You have one in
second
February?
meeting. The first one is February 15th. I would say we're probably going to need 2 to 3 weeks before the second one. So the second one may be like around March 7th.
So let's do the third week in March, if everyone is able to attend on one of those days in the third week.
Okay,
Then
so
that
that
should
would
give
be-
you enough time to prepare budget information.
So
So
that would be
what are
March
those dates?
20.
19th is a Monday, 21st is a Wednesday, 22nd Thursday, 23rd Friday. I believe they're not good for you, and they're not good for me. I don't know if anyone else, how Wednesday, Thursday.
Wednesday's generally not good. Several of us usually go to the sunrise meeting.
How about the
Thursday?
22nd, Thursday?
Thursday's good for me.
Okay,
22nd?
Thursday, 22nd?
Okay. And what time? Carol, what time?
I would like to start the meeting at 6.
6? Yeah. Okay, thank you.
So I guess that's settled.
Thank you.
I was all ready to go into my, hey, we're gonna save money by being able to do an insert.
Okay, so, Adam.
Good evening. So we've touched on it a little bit already tonight. My agenda item has to do with the generator project and PGE ESP agreement, which was presented to the board in detail last month. The write-up I did this month basically mirrors that. What I did want to do is recap the last couple of weeks since the last meeting. At the January 12th meeting, the board directed staff to further visit comments that we had received from the insurance agent of record, Mr. Griffin, regarding some of his concerns with the terms and conditions of the PGE agreement. We did do that. We reviewed those comments with legal counsel and Mr. Griffin, and submitted those comments to PGE for their consideration. PGE responded rejecting those changes on the account that, in their opinion, they would be insufficiently protected if they accepted those changes. Legal counsel and our insurance agent of record had further discussion and then agreed that CRW could accept those terms and conditions, and based mainly on the fact that PGE is a regulated utility and not, in a sense, a strictly private organization where there may be more liability at risk that CRW would accrue from those types of terms and conditions. So that brings us to where we are today, and you see the agreement there in your packet is essentially the same, or is the same agreement that was presented in January for the board to review tonight and elect to make an election on how they'd like to proceed with that.
In this document that you put together for us, is that page in here that was of question in regards to the liability issue that we spoke about? I can remember seeing that, but is it in here?
I don't know what document.
There was
It
that
is.
specific
It's
paragraph
on-
in regards to the liability issue.
It's on
Yes,
page,
Commissioner Sterling, that is page 14 and 15 on exhibit, well, it's under item 5. The full agreement is attached,
Okay.
but it's way towards the back where you get to the fine print.
And the
Pages
agree-
14 to 15.
The agreement that we're referring to is attached as Exhibit A to Agenda Item 6.
Should be in your
the binders
board
that-
binder, in your board.
You don't have any we have blank tabs. so-
Yeah, I believe
That's not,
those,
is that your board binder?
that's not the same binder.
I don't think it's your.
Oh,
board
oh, sorry about here, but it's also here, right?
I'm sorry, I misspoke. It is item 6, not 5.
Agenda Item 6, and no, those, I believe what you have there is some existing contracts that are existing contracts, not not
That's what I
this-
thought.
not this PGE. So yeah, the last 2 pages of that Exhibit A are the terms and conditions, pages 14 and 15 of the PGE agreement.
All right, so do I have a motion in regards to approving the generator agreement with PGE? Commissioner Cardwell?
Yes, I move that the board approves the dispatchable standby generation agreement with PGE and authorizes the board president to sign the completed agreement.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second?
Thank you. Discussion.
Madam Chair, before you engage in some discussion, I would like to go over some background information that I think would be helpful to the board. The plan to involve PGE in the maintenance of the diesel generator was part of Cundiff's engineering and our engineering department's plan from the beginning of this project. And the reason being is that PGE is the best entity to be involved in terms of generation of power that goes back onto their grid. In fact, PGE won't allow anybody to put power back on their grid unless they are involved in that design and oversight of that system. This agreement I grant you, is an unusual agreement from what you typically see with respect to liability provisions and waiver of damages. And that's why that's why Mr. Griffin couldn't answer your question, Mr. Sterling, as to is the ratepayer completely protected from all damages under this agreement? That's a very complicated question, first of all, because the agreement has various limitations on different types of damages, and there is an ultimate limitation on damages for PGE's work that is merely the replacement of the items. If they are negligent or they do some willful damage to it, then they are responsible under the agreement, but only up to the cost of replacing the equipment that they damage. That's a very unusual provision, I grant you. But if you look at this agreement from a liability standpoint, diesel generator operations are virtually risk-free. I mean, how many diesel generators blow up? First of all, you're not dealing with gasoline. Diesel fuel is a very low flammable. I'm sure, Mr. Sterling, you're aware that diesel fuel has much different characteristics than gasoline. So the risk of liability, there's many diesel generators that are in operation, and the risk of liability to this agency is very small to start with. Second, and Adam addressed this earlier, is that when I've dealt with PGE on many contracts over the years, when you look at their terms and conditions, they are onerous, but they basically take the position, look at it, if you want to do business with us, you accept our terms and conditions.
That's the bottom line.
That's the bottom line, if you want to do business with us. So,
right.
and that's been my experience. They will not negotiate those terms, and that's exactly what they came back with to Mr. Bjornstad when he took our insurance agent's recommendation. When I talked to Mr. Griffin, he said, I was totally approaching this on the basis of this, as if this was an agreement with some private third party. And I said, exactly, I said, we would never enter into an agreement with these kind of terms with a private third party who may or may not have the financial ability to stand behind their damages. So, the long and short of it is, the one thing I was concerned about is exactly Commissioner Holloway's question, and that is, do we have the insurance coverage that this agreement requires? Mr. Griffin did confirm that we do, so I was satisfied from a legal standpoint that this agency is covered under this agreement based upon the risk analysis and based upon the fact that our only choice, if we want to do this deal, is with PGE. We could our other choice is to scrap that approach, go back to square one and say, we'll have some third party maintain the agreement.
No,
Or
that's
maintain-
not necessary.
Okay.
That's not necessary.
So I think that might
The
be helpful.
one issue that is there that sticks out so readily, and you hinted on it, Mr. Phillips, is that the machine itself has sat for 4 years, 5 years, 6 years? Stop me, Adam. 7 years? 5 years?
4
4 or 5 years? It's not a new machine. You, as an engineer, understand electrolysis. And that even though you have a new piece of machinery, time works on it. Even though it's in the garage, only covered with dust. So the first year, or the number of hours that are scheduled to be tested during that period of time, are extremely important. Just because it's running and humming along fine doesn't mean that the inside isn't going to fall apart. So it's just a warning, just a heads up. You know, if they turn that puppy on, maybe you should swing by and be there each time for the first year, just to make sure. Watch the gauges, oil pressure, water temperature, turbo pressure, and things like that, because the failure of that machine will probably occur within the first year, or a major repair that needs to be done to it. And let us hope that it's not during a time of emergency.
And we would have that situation whether PGE did the maintenance or not, correct?
Yeah, I mean, someone has to assume it.
Right,
But
right.
PGE has stepped forward and said that they're going to change the oil, buy the fuel, and that sort of thing. But that isn't going to help us if we have a failure of the system and the water pressure drops and Safeway says we can't do our bread and yogurt.
Right. But see, that wouldn't be PGE's responsibility anyway.
Right, that's how come Jeff assured us that
Right.
SDAO would go ahead and start cutting checks for bread and yogurt.
Right.
Adam, you may want to address
Yeah, if I could speak to
how
that
we
really
have
quick.
brought Cummings or Caterpillar into this.
Yeah, that-
Well, Adam's going
Thank you.
to address,
Pardon?
Adam's going to address his question.
Oh, that
and
question.
then, yeah, first.
Thank you. Just to address the point, when the generator was purchased and placed in storage, we followed, at the time it was Halton, but they're Peterson/Caterpillar, their instructions on how to place a generator in storage, which included not only the fact that it's undercover in a heated shop, but also that the internal heaters of the generator were activated so as to keep a lot of the seizing up or those issues, electrolysis, what they may be, from occurring over time. We've had some discussion with, now that we have a contractor on board, Systems Design, Oregon Electric, and Bob Tamser, who was the same individual with Halton, with the same, had the same input with the same company, essentially Caterpillar. Very recently had a discussion about, are there things we're gonna do before we can say, yes, this generator's commissioned, it's ready to roll. And he did indicate that those are typical procedures that we would do once we connect the generator, commission it, get it up to snuff through the entire process. So those acts all would combine to help mitigate or minimize any operational issues.
And I look forward to the day, Adam, that we can have maybe a little ribbon cutting, and some cake, and get it into the newspaper to demonstrate to our ratepayers that we are responsible board members, and that, we're looking out for them. And when nobody else has got water, CRW will have pressure in the case of an electrical failure.
What do the rules say about breaking a bottle of champagne over it? Probably not a good idea.
The cake and teas.
Commissioner Kemper?
Yeah. I believe I've asked this question before, but I want to ask it again. This agreement with PGE, is it essentially the same as PGE has with other districts, other people like this who are putting, is nothing tailor-made to us?
Correct.
Okay.
Other than the scope of work is a little bit different, but their standard terms and conditions, they have one with the state of Oregon. There's a couple of other entities that are off the top of my head, I can't remember, but these are the terms and conditions that are in those agreements.
Thank you.
Trish, can you call the vote, please?
Yes, Commissioner Cardwell,
Yes.
Commissioner Holloway,
Yes.
Commissioner Kemper,
Yes.
Commissioner Sterling,
Yes.
Commissioner Kehoe.
Yes.
Passes unanimously.
Thank you.
You're welcome, thanks, Adam. Bob,
Agenda item number 7,
thank you.
fairly simple one. We have a item for donation of asset, a new water line. At tax lot 304 as shown on the sketch on Exhibit A. Basically, at Southeast 85th Avenue in Taunton, apartment complex was constructed this last year. And as part of that work, it was required to extend a 12-inch water main for the fire service to those buildings. The water line consisted of 167 feet of 12-inch water line, some 6-inch water line, and a fire hydrant. The fire service itself, of course, is owned by the building, but they are donating based on the form, bill of sale donation form, those components, and a total amount of, I hope I wrote it down somewhere here. So I don't have to use that.
$14,380.
That's correct. Thank you.
Do I have a
Do you have any
motion?
questions?
When the boys were out there working, they had their cones plugged up properly. They had their reflective coats on, and they looked professional.
Oh.
They really did a nice job when they were there.
All the work out there was done by private. All we did was
Right.
inspect it
Right.
and oversaw. the
Yeah,
work.
but when our people were there, they looked good.
Good.
Sorry, give a motion.
I move that the Board of Commissioners accept the donation of assets as presented for the Acadia Gardens development and establish the acceptance date as February 2012.
Have a second.
Second.
Any further discussion on fashion items? Hearing none, Trish, can you call the vote, please?
Yes. Commissioner Cardwell,
Yes.
Commissioner Holloway,
Yes.
Commissioner Kemper,
Yes.
Commissioner Sterling,
Yes.
Commissioner Kehoe.
Yes.
Passes unanimously.
One other real quick item, if I may.
You bet.
Mr. Moore. Mr. Moore, did we hand out the contracts, the engineer CIP contracts?
We have an
As a
updated
free-
contract list. It's in the
Commissioner
management.
Holloway and Commissioner Sterling have a booklet in front of them that have.
Okay. When the original contract was requested, we were not left off the list, but we were off doing our little thing. So when we realized our contracts were not in the original packet that was handed out, we went back, pulled them, and now you have it in front of you. If you have any questions, give us a call. Anything missing that you know about, give us a call. We can get it to you.
I wish your wonderful habits would rub off on other people.
Any other? That's all I had.
That's it. Thank you, Bob. Number 8, general management, performance review process. Thank you, Cindy. So I believe everyone received an email on the general manager goals. Could you make a copy for everyone? I believe everyone has it. Okay. So we're not going to be doing the performance evaluation at this meeting, but the board does need to discuss what the process is going to be. Last year, the general manager's report happened, were we like 6 months delayed? We were waiting until the audit situation was taken care of in the budget, and then I believe then we did the performance review. So I guess my concern is, our general manager has yearly goals, but he's only had 6 months to fulfill that obligation. So I'm wondering if we need to do a full performance review or what the board wants to do in regards to this process. And then Lee, I'd also like to hear your input as well.
We have contractual requirements, Ken.
I understand that, but Lee, since he is the one that has the contract, he can make a suggestion to the board on whether or not we can waive what's in that contract or make any other type of suggestion. That's within his right, which is why we're discussing it tonight.
I know that.
Okay.
What I did, or what the board has in front of it, is really a summary of the things that we have been working on this year and that we intend to continue working on in the coming year. I think the board has been pretty consistent since I've been on board that the number one goal for the agency is water protection. As the document that I sent out to you all today indicates, I recognize that people probably haven't had a chance to read it in its entirety, or may want to spend more time with it. And then also intergovernmental cooperation. And the next one that I listed there on page 2 in Bolden is water right protection. And that's right up there with water protection, because one of the things that I did hear from Water Resources when I was in Salem is sitting with our excess capacity, that they're very concerned about that, given the watershed of the Clackamas River. And so we have put that up. We've also indicated on page 3 daily work activity in terms of those things that we've completed and those things that we're continuing to work on throughout the year. I think we're close enough to January that we shouldn't be too far out of phase in terms of at least reviewing this document and seeing if there are things that are here that either you'd like for me to continue working on, things that you would think that we shouldn't be working on, and maybe some things that we missed altogether. That would be helpful in this process, to know what that is. And also then we talk about the major projects that we have completed on the last page. So other than the format, I think the one that we used last year seemed to work extremely well, where we are, and then we used a process before that where individual commissioners had given their feedback one-on-one. That worked as well. So I don't have as much concern about the process. I'm more concerned about the overall assessment that the board might have. And I must add, I'm also concerned about the toxicity issue. I indicated that last year. And as I've heard today, is that I can expect for that to continue. And so that's an issue. I see Mr. Stern is acknowledging that. So I think that somehow we need to deal with that as well.
Okay. Because of the way that the behavior I've seen from certain board members hasn't been the most diplomatic, and been very offensive. I do share your concerns because there needs to be a process in place that the majority agrees upon as to how this performance evaluation is going to take place. I thought the process last year worked well. I think we're at an advantage this year because we have more time to take a look at it, discuss it, get all those issues out, which, by the way, happens in executive session. And it also provides a forum for people to show their ugly side if they want to. And that also doesn't have to happen with Mr. Moore in the room. That can be a board discussion prior to inviting the the general manager in to continue that performance evaluation. So I'd like to hear from the other commissioners as to what type of process they'd like to see in place.
I actually prefer the process that we used 2 years ago, where we had a set of criteria that we used to evaluate. This, and I think that that process worked a lot better.
Okay, anyone else?
It was a very standardized process, same one I think that, pretty much that Wesleyan uses.
Well, what it was we had the general manager's goals on that criteria, and then commissioners had an opportunity to add on to that for the upcoming year. And then
No,
that's,
I'm talking about 2 years ago, Kenny, you weren't.
I was here.
But it was a completely different format than,
It was a
than the
different-
format that we used the last time.
I know, I'm aware of that, and I was here 2 years ago, and
Yeah.
I know what you're speaking of.
Yeah, I think that that one works better personally.
Okay. Mike, Barbara, Grafton? I don't know what that means.
Okay, well, I like what you said about having the period without Lee in the room, where we just plain discuss things first. I think that's a really important part of it, for the ugly stuff.
Well, we regularly have that.
Do we want to base this performance evaluation on the goals that the general manager set last year that the board approved? And then add on to that for the upcoming year? I believe some of them are ongoing goals. They're not ones that may be finalized or completed, but I think that's, I don't know if that's what you mean by set criteria.
No, it was a completely different set of criteria.
So you want to add?
No, I
So
like that, I like that format and that list of criteria,
Okay.
rather
Why
than,
don't
rather than
you-
structuring it on goals.
Okay, why don't you email me and Barbara, since we set the agenda, what criteria you'd like to see implemented, and we will include it, along with the goals that were established.
Yeah, I don't know if every commissioner got those. There's 9 goals that you agreed to last year.
Yeah, that would be helpful, and I will go through and dig that out and email it to you.
All right. So Commissioner Holloway, you said that you'd like to see copies of what you guys approved last year.
Right, if that's gonna be a part of it, yeah.
It will be a part of it,
Okay.
and then you can add your criteria portion, and then we will proceed. I'd also, I'm gonna put this out there, I'd also like to review the contract as well, at the same time. If the board is amendable to that. I believe that it expires, it's up for expiration soon, so I think that it's time.
It doesn't expire
After.
until December 2013, Kenny.
Yeah, I'm aware of that.
So what are you gonna try to do, redo it right now?
Well, it's a possibility.
Nice to know what you have in mind.
Well, that's why I'm discussing it. I'm letting you know. That's the purpose of discussion.
Interesting.
So I will include that as well, for consideration. Is there anything else people would like to see? No? Okay,
I have one thing to say.
okay.
Following along the line of Mr. Moore and toxicity, in the spring of 2011, Vance Boyles brought to me
We are not,
100
no,
pages.
Grafton,
Executive session is the time to bring
Grafton,
this up.
exactly, Grafton.
No, you guys
No, you-
have had it your way.
No,
information
you are,
between
you are,
Grafton
you know what,
Chairwoman
no, I will not,
and
I
Chairman-
will not, Grafton, you are out of line and you're causing liability, and you need to stop.
He's just
So
telling
we
the
are-
truth, Kenny,
Well,
about
he
what
can,
has
you know what,
happened in
he can
history.
write how many articles he wants to, he can put it in the press, I don't care, he's not doing it in this meeting. So we're proceeding. Number 9.
Let's move on.
Okay, number 9. Commissioner reimbursements and reports. Do I have a motion?
Before I get to that, I have Pat, or Barbara's report. I didn't have the report for Pat's reimbursement. Pat, did you?
She doesn't have any commissioner assignments.
I don't have any assignments courtesy of Commissioner Kehoe, so I only have meetings to report, Commissioner Carville.
Okay. I didn't see the form that I would normally.
But there was, on the yellow copy, there was a significant mistake in dollars, and here we go. Looks like it got corrected on the purple sheet.
No, I
Yeah.
see the correct amount, but I didn't see any reimbursement form that I would.
Oh, if they didn't give it to you, I'm sorry.
Okay, I should have called for
I certainly submitted it. Yeah, we only included Commissioner Kemper. Oh, no, mine was in the board packet, Mike.
On this one, and then
But where did she get to
two
that?
twenty-two,
Okay.
65 on that one, so
Okay.
you can have.
No, I do have it, I didn't have it, so,
Okay.
I'm fine.
Yeah, they were in the board packet.
Okay. So I move to approve commissioner reimbursements in the amount of $769 and
No, it needs to be the amount.
It's the
of-
purple.
No, Tammy, you have to read the purple one.
Purple.
That's what I was saying. It was
Oh,
way
you
off.
know, oh, sorry. In the amount of $438.15. For one, Commissioner Holloway in the amount of $224.95. And for Commissioner Barbara Kemper in the amount of $213.20. Do I have a second?
Madam Chair, I think what we've done in the past is do those individually,
have to
so that you
split 'em.
can take care of the conflict issue.
They can't vote by,
Not because of the conflict
You
issue.
need to just separate them.
just separate it, okay.
So
Tricia, you can strike that. So I move to approve commissioner reimbursements in the amount of $224.95 for Commissioner Holloway.
Second.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's okay.
Commissioner Cardwell,
Yes.
Commissioner Holloway,
I abstain on the ground of conflict of interest due to the potential pecuniary benefits.
Commissioner Kemper,
Yes.
Commissioner Sterling,
No.
Commissioner Kehoe.
I don't know. Yes.
3 yes, 1 no, and 1 abstention. Motion passes.
I move to approve commissioner reimbursements in the amount of $213.24 for Commissioner Kemper.
It's 20 cents.
Oh, what did I say, 30?
You said 24 cents.
20 cents.
Sorry.
No, thank you for the correction.
Second.
I have a question. I don't believe I know, anyway, Commissioner Kemper hasn't reported on the group of 8 meetings.
The what?
The group of 8 meetings?
I can't hear you.
You haven't reported on the group of 8 meetings.
Well, those,
That's a confidential meeting.
Well, you can make a report or not. I mean, it's,
I attended,
the board-
we had discussions, we're working on the draft.
board policy requires you to report if you want reimbursement. It's that uncomplicated.
Well, do you want me to write it out now?
You can make it an executive session.
Commissioner Kemper, what I would suggest, Commissioner Kemper, is to wait until we have the public discussion on the 180, or when maybe both boards are together,
Right,
and then claim your expenses
okay.
for attendance for that meeting. So
Okay.
I move to amend the motion. Let's see.
Madam Chair, before you make that motion, I do have another suggestion, and that is that Commissioner Kemper can't, even with the confidentiality, she can report that she attended the meeting. I don't think the policy requires that there be a substantive detailed report on it, and just report that she attended the meeting and that it is subject to the confidentiality agreement at the current time. I'm trying to remember, I know
Our
we've been.
policy states that it needs to
It's
be
being,
either a written report or an oral report.
yes. So she could do the oral report.
Yeah, but I'm just suggesting that she provide her oral report at the public meeting or when votes.
And that's fine.
Yeah.
That's up to the board on how they want to administer that.
I mean, if
Is
it-
that what you prefer, Commissioner
Well-
Holloway? Because this, I mean, you're the one that's holding up.
Or we could
The
delay
approval of
my
it,
total
so-
report until next month. That's
Well-
fine with me.
What I would say is, Mr. Phillips, it would appear to me that if simply saying you attended a meeting constitutes a report, we might as well just throw board policy out the window.
So
There's
I
a
guess
meeting
my
with
question
confidentiality
still
agreement.
stands. What do we need to do to move this process forward? Would you prefer
I
if she
would
waited?
recommend that she wait until such time as she has actually provided her report, yes.
So at the next meeting with both boards? Okay.
Whatever she wants to do it, that's
So
her business, not
I
mine.
move to amend my motion to the amount of $168.20.
Well, did you change the mileage on it too and all that? I mean.
Did you include mileage on it?
You know, I'm perfectly okay having this wait until next month.
Oh, your whole expense report?
Right.
Okay,
The whole thing, I'm
Okay.
perfectly okay with that.
thank you. Guess that solves that issue. Public comment? Oh, I have Cindy up first, Gary, and then I'll call you up.
I just had a point of order.
Oh,
So go ahead and take Cindy now.
Try it again.
I believe it's been established the audience can't make points of order. We had that discussion several months ago.
Well, he can come up and make a public comment if you'd like.
Well, he
after
certainly
Cindy's
can,
done.
but it's a point of order. He
Okay.
can't make a point of order.
Well, he didn't. I know he
I
said
thought
it,
that's what he was gonna do.
well, but he didn't, so let's proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just have a question or two for this evening. Cindy Lewis Wolf from the ratepayer. One of those that Commissioner Sterling seems to be so concerned about. The question I have has to do with documents that were promised to be delivered last month at the board meeting by Commissioner Holloway and delivered to legal counsel regarding the BCT situations that the board has before it. And I wanted to know if those documents had been delivered.
They were delivered tonight?
Yes, they have
Yeah,
been
they were
delivered.
tonight.
Because I had heard a comment in the meeting that there's documents also used that should be at CRW. But there were documents that were missing last month. I'm just wondering if those documents that Commissioner Holloway thought were missing were delivered.
They're referenced, and they're CRW records. And I explained or offered, if CRW cannot find them with the reference, let me know.
So no, the documents were not delivered as promised.
As promised. Thank you.
Well,
Short
all the
answer.
information about them is. Tammy.
Okay, well, you didn't keep your word, Pat. You said you were going to deliver them and you didn't keep your word, so we're just gonna move on.
I've been in too much trouble in the past for delivering CRW documents, madam.
Was
Well,
that your
You have
only
the reference.
public
Well, my
comment?
other,
If you can't find them, I'll give them.
well, since everyone has waited patiently for Commissioner Holloway to make every statement that she can from A to Z, I'll wait and see if she's finished.
Well, you only have 3 minutes, so
Thank you.
Okay.
My other question or comment is asking the board to be sure, when they talk of ethics and they talk of denigrating other people's reputations, that they think to their own as well. As a ratepayer, I watched not full information being given to the ratepayers last spring. Not full information about business commitments between potential commissioners, and full information about past employment by a commissioner. And yet, these people have the gall to
Wait.
question
You
other
don't allow
things.
that to happen?
Okay,
And that
we
is
don't-
all I
no,
have to
okay,
say.
Because we don't, okay.
That is all I
Thank you,
have to
'cause
say.
I don't allow. Gary?
I just love these unsubstantiated
Well, it's
accusations.
two-sided.
Well,
They're
substantiate
wonderful.
if you want.
Whomever they're directed to.
Two quick things. Number one, it's unclear to me, the board policy with regard to public comment after the sign-up sheet has been handed in.
I can't hear you, Gary.
After the sign-up sheet has been handed in and things occur during the meeting on which you want to talk, that's why I raised the point of order issue, is because it's unclear. The instructions on the top of that seem to indicate that if you don't sign up, you want to speak later, because of something that happens in the meeting, that isn't allowed, okay? And so I'd ask you to clarify that so that what occurred tonight to me is allowed for in your policies, okay? And so I'd like to speak to what happened tonight with regard to me.
Okay, first I want to address your public comment inquiry. I will always, if someone fills out a comment card or has a question or says that they want to make a comment, I'm very, flexible to that. If you want to speak on an agenda item, let me know. I think you've attended the meetings enough that I thought you were aware of that process, so I apologize if it wasn't
I
clear.
am aware of the informal process, but I'm also aware of the formal process, and I wanted to make sure that I didn't violate the formal process.
No, you
Okay.
didn't.
The issue I'd like to speak about is the document that was handed out tonight entitled White Paper, that has my name in it, that was given to the board and the public, and makes.
Before he speaks to that, I need to put on the record that I've had a chance to go through this document, and I understand that this was handed out to the public. A portion of that document is actually a summary of an executive session that occurred on June 19th, 2007. And
Well, you all have banned me from executive session, Mr. Phillips.
that does not give you the right, Commissioner Holloway, to release executive session documents and information to the public
Possessors,
without the authority of this board. And I
we
just,
hold a difference of opinion on that subject.
if you will let me speak, I just want to note on the record that, to my knowledge, this board nor any prior board has authorized the release of that executive session. Now, this occurred before my time, so I don't know if the prior board had authorized the release of this executive session information. So before you put that information on the record, Mr. Kerr, I would just like to know anything discussing that executive session. I just want to go on the record that, to my knowledge, this board has never authorized the release of that executive session information. And the BTC issue has still a potential for litigation. So there are statements in this document that can be particularly harmful to CRW if that is to occur.
So, Gary, Gary,
Yeah.
you can continue.
Thank you.
Apologize.
Page 2, limited access to information. The fifth bullet point talks about interviews with participants and it includes my name. Since I was released as general manager, I have had no interviews with regard to this issue with anyone. Number one.
That I was misinformed, Mr. Kerr.
First bullet point under the
I'm
analysis,
sorry.
under the analysis section. To my knowledge, Mr. George, except maybe early on after the merger with Claremont, was not on the board of CRW. Could be mistaken in that. But it kind of implies here that he was on the CRW board at the time of some of those events.
He wasn't abstained from the
What
vote.
page is that,
according
Mr.
to-
Kerr?
this- According to public
Still page
minutes,
2,
Mr. Kerr.
first
Still
bullet
page 2?
point under Commissioner Holloway's analysis.
Thank you.
Okay. With regard to the executive session information, I was in that meeting. I object to its release without proper approval. It does not have my approval to have it released. At an appropriate time, I will comment on the content of that statement, but not at this meeting. And on the last page, bullet point number 5, So certain CRW employees, including perhaps but not limited to Alan Fletcher and District Commissioner Bob George, had knowledge of the alteration of the building. I am the one who personally notified CRW that the building was being constructed, number one. Number two, Bob George was not in any way affiliated with CRW at the time of that event. And I object to the fact that that was concluded in that manner, because he was not affiliated at all with CRW at that time. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Are you taking
And it
questions,
says-
Mr. Kern?
And it says perhaps.
As long as it doesn't have to do with the executive session.
And we know Alan Fletcher was involved because he signed all kinds of stuff, public
Weren't
records.
you dismissed by the board?
So I am not going to allow questions at this time. It's public comment. If you want to contact Gary on your own, feel free to do so. Thank you, Gary. Barbara.
Tammy? I have a motion. Clackamas River Water has procedures in place for commissioners to present concerns which commissioners may have about the competence and/or behavior of the staff or employees. Commissioner Patricia Holloway has repeatedly chosen to ignore these procedures. Instead, she has chosen to make accusations and allegations about our staff and employees in public, at meetings of our board, at meetings of other boards, and in the media. In addition, she recently used the CRW email system to distribute unsolicited information to all employees. This would be a serious offense if done by an employee, potentially leading to dismissal. These behaviors are absolutely not supported by this board, and I believe that we need to take action to show to the public and to all our employees that she is acting totally on her own. For this reason, I move that the board censure Patricia Holloway for refusing to follow established board procedures and acting as an individual in these ways that are harmful to CRW. That's my motion.
I second the motion for discussion. First of all, we have a certain model of organization and governance. It's been adopted by this board. It's been distributed by SDAO, and it's also a system that is universally used in this country and other municipalities. And I think it does a disservice to this water district. I think it does a disservice to our employees. I think it also does a disservice to the ratepayers when it's abused or not utilized the way it's supposed to. And this isn't anything that's personal. I think it's something that's bigger and broader than the violations. The fact is that there's a diplomatic process. And when people don't use it, it really doesn't serve the greater good.
I just have seen too many personal attacks on our employees and staff in meetings, and as I say, at other meetings, and the use of the media to spread this kind of thing.
You're going to have to substantiate that, Barbara.
And
This
these
is
things
just
should-
more of this barrage of unsubstantiated, unproven accusations and allegations. And if you were concerned with process, if you were concerned with allowing communication, if this board majority was concerned with allowing commissioners to have sufficient information to monitor the activities of the organization, it would be one thing. That is simply not the case. And you have taken a series of discriminatory and punitive actions, first against me. Looks to me now like you're starting to do that to Commissioner Sterling as well. And it seems to me to be an attempt to silence any kind of dissent. It seems to be an attempt to prevent information from, public information from being made available to the public. And so, you know, I've come to personally call it whatever the current month is X month's little surprise to be delivered at the end, generally by Commissioner Kehoe and you. And my recommendation would be that if you want a smoothly running organization, that you cease interfering with the provision of public information and information to the full board. You are the ones who created this atmosphere of this toxic atmosphere. And I think it's, it's kind of interesting to hear you sit there and pontificate about it, because you're the ones who are perpetuating it. You started it and you're continuing it.
Well, what I saw tonight with council had nothing to do with public information. It was ugly, it was indecent, it was offensive, and it was actually downright evil. And I don't see how that type of behavior has anything to do with board policy or not having information. So,
Commissioner, we,
No,
as
Commissioner Holloway, I agree with Commissioner Kehoe 100%. I am in utter disbelief how it is that Commissioner Kemper can think that it's perfectly all right to compare Mr. Phillips to a pedophile governor. And that so long as that person does good things, it's perfectly all right. I cannot understand for the life of me what sort of rationale goes through your mind, Commissioner Kemper. Do you think that that's perfectly okay, since he's a pedophile?
Commissioner Grafton, that has nothing to do with what I'm
Oh, it
saying
doesn't?
in this motion.
It doesn't?
Patricia Holloway knows full well that the venue for a commissioner bringing accusations against employees and staff is the executive session. She has always known that, and she has repeatedly brought accusations against staff, against employees out at our meetings and out at other meetings.
Commissioner Kemper, first of all, Mr. Phillips is not staff.
This is
That's
what
the
I'm talking,
subject.
you refuse to acknowledge the venue that is available.
Well, number one, you voted to exclude me from that venue.
Pardon?
You voted to exclude me from that venue.
But-
And number two,
You would always have the option to say, got something that I have to bring to executive session, and it would be done.
and number two, Commissioner Kemper, when I say something, it is truth.
No,
And
No.
when,
No,
and
no,
when,
no, no.
okay.
and when,
Okay, so now, can we call a vote,
when
please?
I have
I'm cutting you off right
No,
there.
when
No,
I
ma'am.
have sworn under penalty statements
What?
from people that certain CRW employees have gone out besmirching my name, those people are on record saying that this is true under penalty of perjury, Commissioner.
So Pat, you never besmirched anybody's name here, is that what you're trying to tell us?
I don't lie about people's names. I don't lie about people.
Pat, you still swear that I'm guilty of
Pat,
perjury.
you just did.
You are.
No, I am not. You were too lazy, you were too lazy to look at the full tape.
I
The
looked at
full
the whole
surveillance
thing.
tape of that
I put the
executive-
whole thing
of that-
practically on the website, Barbara. I'm
No,
very familiar
no,
with it.
you didn't.
You committed perjury, and I
No,
can
at
prove it.
4:29 and a half,
What?
Richard Grenier was in that office.
What does this
You
have
was
to
have
do?
not.
pictures of
The
it.
clock was over the door,
I have
Barbara.
the CD.
It's on the video.
Pat, you weren't even part of that lawsuit, and you wrote the judge a letter, a
might
scathing
move to
letter,
adjourn.
Judge Mauer, on what a bad judgment he made.
You wrote to the judge as well.
No, I did not. No, I did not. No,
Well,
I did not, Pat.
Nonetheless,
I
that's
have
not
a
the
copy
issue.
of it. Oh, no, the issue is, Pat,
The issue is Commissioner Kemper committed
Pat,
perjury.
no, Pat, the issue is that
And
you're
I
a
can
problem,
prove
that you're a problem.
No, telling
And
the
that
truth
you're-
is your problem.
No.
My telling the
No,
truth is your
Pat,
problem.
Pat, the problem is that you are not making a conducive environment to allow CRW to do its job, which is water. I really don't care about all this personal crap about people.
You don't care if people
If it-
commit perjury,
You know what?
lie, are convicted
I
of
do
crimes.
not
I
care
do.
if it does not affect the operation of this agency.
It does.
So, you are much better at a lot of things, okay? I'm not, you're smart, you have talents, and you're also a lot better at being ugly.
If-
And I'm
Oh,
letting you know
Commissioner, I
that
can't
it
believe
is-
you're the one saying that.
And it's it's not conducive to a diplomatic process, Pat. We have a process and procedure in place, and that's what the motion's about.
If Commissioner Kemper hadn't perjured herself in that
Okay.
hearing, she would not be
Well-
on this board, Commissioner Kehoe.
Well, you know, take it up with the judge.
Well,
No, I'm
where
just
in the
saying.
board policies does
You
it
are wrong
have
with me
have
telling the truth.
Kemper's motion?
Do you have anything else to say?
Yeah, I need Barbara to explain what she means. I don't understand exactly what censure means, so somebody can explain that.
I couldn't hear you, Mike, sorry.
Yeah.
Do you want to explain
I
it?
didn't hear.
He doesn't understand what censure means.
Explain to me what you mean, what you intend to happen.
Sort of like saying shame, shame, and we do not support you in what you're doing. I don't know what the exact, do we have an exact definition of censure?
Well, it doesn't have any actual.
public
Let's say
reprimand.
this board does not,
It is simply a reprimand on the record for a certain type of conduct. It has no consequences in and
Right.
of itself.
So it doesn't say anything in the board policies about what her motion is?
No, it does not.
That's why I had.
It's
them
like kids at a playground.
That's why I had them explain it, Grafton. Do you understand it now, do you?
Well, I've been trying to find it. We're supposed to follow
No,
this
do you
book,
understand?
Cardwell.
Do you understand what they just said?
Yeah, it's like kids on a playground.
Yeah, you're the biggest brat there.
Trish,
the reason I did this is I think we have to take a stand, and we have to say to the employees and to the
Absolutely.
public is, this
Absolutely.
is not something that is an action of this board.
Well, then
This
please
person is
explain,
acting improperly
Absolutely.
as far as we're concerned.
please explain to the
Absolutely.
employees and the public that it's not okay for the general manager or for Vance Voiles
It has
to
nothing to
go
do with us.
out
that has-
providing
no.
employee private
No.
medical information
It
to
never happened,
members of
Pat.
the public.
And that's a lie.
Yeah, it did.
You're
It
telling
is
a lie
not.
again.
It is not
I'm not
a
gonna
lie.
sit here and listen to you call me a liar and behave the way
I
that you do.
didn't say you were lying. I
without-
said that's what you
Without
did.
a reaction from me. It's inappropriate.
Why
it's
don't you
wrong.
just simply file the paperwork, Mr. Moore? I've got a copy of the state paperwork here with the lottery. You picked up 100 grand there, public information. Why don't you just file
You
the
don't even
paperwork?
get that
We're
right, Mr.
deviating from the
Sterling.
Huh?
motion.
You don't even
Yes.
get that right.
Oh, you didn't cash the check?
Can you call
You
the,
don't get that right.
can you call the vote, please?
Yes.
Are you saying he's not correct, or he doesn't have that
I
privilege?
say it's not correct. He doesn't know what the hell he's talking about.
Well, $90,000 and $10,000 to pay the lawyer, that's $100,000 by my
Commissioner
arithmetic.
Caldwell,
It's
or
Cardwell.
Cardwell, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Commissioner Holloway,
Nope,
Commissioner Kemper,
Yes,
Commissioner Sterling,
No.
Commissioner Kehoe.
Yes. And I also have two more motions I'd like to make. Number one, the email situation worries me. Dean, I'm wondering what you can say on this issue, because I want it known that this board is not going to tolerate those types of emails, especially going out to employees that are offensive, that if an employee did that, they would be most likely discharged.
Commissioner,
what I
why do you
would like-
call identifying a
What I
crime
would like,
offensive?
what I would like to do is make a motion to eliminate her email from this agency. If
Where
she
does that
wants-
say that in board policy?
If she wants to send out those types of emails, I believe she should do it on her own email address. Because I'm concerned about, again, the ongoing liability that this agency could be incurring.
So let me get this straight, Commissioner Kehoe.
You're causing
You have-
liability.
You have voted to exclude
Okay,
me from
Dean-
executive session.
Dean
You're
is
trying to ban
answering
me
the
from
question.
email.
It's not your turn to talk.
Dean is prejudicial. He's not going to do anything that affects his paycheck.
It is Dean's turn to talk.
Your statements are leading the
It's
ratepayers
Dean's
directly to the
turn.
federal courts.
It's Dean's turn to talk. Okay, well, you know, if that's true, then you guys wouldn't be acting this way, so I don't believe it.
Someone has to protect the ratepayer.
Oh, please, you're not protecting.
Dean, can you?
Hey,
please
you
address-
came from Illinois with a $10,000 civil fine against you and fraudulently signed 2 documents at the real estate agency in Salem. And you neglected to mention that. You betcha it keeps coming. I'm getting tired of you
Grafton,
besmirching the real estate
Grafton,
industry.
you're out of line.
Oh, all of a sudden I'm out of line.
Yes, you're out of line.
Let's go home and have ice cream and call it a
You can
day.
leave, go ahead and leave. Dean is answering the question.
Oh, we would dare miss what you're up to, Tammy.
Well, I do have to say that terminating somebody's use of CRW's email would be a rather unusual action. the board already has established a policy that commissioners cannot make direct contact with employees. And they've established a policy by contract and by board policy that the general manager is the administrative manager of this district. And that all communication should go to employees, should go through the general manager. So Commissioner Holloway, by sending emails to staff, is in clear violation of board policy. It's obvious that she doesn't care about board policy. The board can take, they can adopt a policy that prohibits her use of the email system, as they could adopt any policy. But whether or not that, is lawful or not, I don't know, because I haven't researched the issue. That is a very unusual action, I do have to say. But the board, in managing its members, the board does have inherent power to manage its members, and that would be the only authority that I'm aware of off the top of my head under which the board could take such action.
Okay, thank you.
I
So
would-
I move.
I would offer, excuse me.
No,
I would
I'm making
offer
a motion,
correction.
you can wait.
Mr. Phillips, Ms.
Well, so I move to revoke Commissioner Holloway's email address from CRW.
So she can never, we have to, I'll second it for discussion. So that would mean that she could not send or receive
She
any
can,
emails
no,
over
she
the system?
can, it would just go to her personal email account. She would have to provide a personal email address. I am not comfortable with providing a forum with this agency where she's able to use an email system that's in CRW's name, that she's sending out items of libel and slander, and creating a hostile work environment. She wants to do it. I think she should be able to do it on her own email address.
Chairwoman Kehoe, when I receive emails from Sunrise, and I think that's okay to receive emails from Sunrise, I get along with Mr. Blake fine, they're sent to Miss Lewis also with an address to the CRW email. Can you explain why that is?
It's not part of the motion.
I didn't ask anything about the motion.
Well,
I'm asking you, you're
I'm
talking
only-
about emails.
I'm only discussing the motion and the reasons why I made
You
the
see,
motion.
that's how come there's problems with this board, okay?
No, that's because you don't
No, 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 no,
understand.
no.
No, because you don't understand.
Public
governance.
information clearly demonstrates
because
where
you-
you're going.
Okay, so any further discussion on
Yes.
the motion?
Yes.
I have one more. It'll be quick.
No,
Oh, I can
I
hardly
think
wait.
if you're going to do something, I'm not going to agree with that. I think if you're going to do anything at all, you would restrict access to all board members' emails to staff, and not just one board member.
I didn't provoke emails to staff.
No, I
but-
understand that, I understand what you're saying, but unfortunately, whether you like it or not, Pat is an elected official, and whether she wants to libel the district or not, we can say we disapprove of her behavior all we want, which dissociates us from her. If somebody sues us at some point, our name's not gonna be on it, other than the fact that we're part of the board, but her name's gonna be on it. And I would, at this point, say that we're probably headed for a lawsuit. Somebody's gonna sue us because of the behavior that goes on down there, and then I'm not gonna restrict her email access just because I don't think restricting one commissioner's access is the way to do it. If you wanna do something, restrict all access to staff, other than maybe administrative staff, to all the commissioners. Not just one.
Okay.
As much as I disapprove of the behavior, I'm not gonna agree with that.
I think you create a huge public records problem.
No, I don't. I didn't say that you couldn't have access to staff, because I know you're gonna do it anyway. What I said was you cannot do it using CRW's email. That's what the motion was.
And I just would correct something that Mr. Phillips said. This is not a matter of board policy. I believe you're referring to a contract rather than board policy, Mr. Phillips.
I believe I said a contract or a board policy.
No, you said board policy. Well, shall we vote so we can get on with whatever Tammy has in mind next?
Yes, can you call the vote, please, Trish?
Yes, Commissioner Cardwell,
No.
Commissioner Holloway,
No?
Commissioner Kemper,
No?
Commissioner Sterling,
No.
Commissioner Kehoe.
Yes.
Motion fails.
And then I have one more motion to make. I'm concerned about the things you were saying about this agency and the fact that
What,
there's
when, and
a
where?
lot of untruth to it. And I really have reservations about this agency funding your attendance to the SDAO conference.
Oh, here we go again.
So my motion is to revoke the reimbursement expense for Commissioner Holloway to attend this SDAO conference, including registration, lodging, and attendance of the meeting, or of the conference.
I'll second for purposes of discussion.
And I think that goes along with censuring a commissioner. Mike, you agreed to that, and I think your reason was aligned with Barbara and mine, which is that this board is not, the majority of this board does not approve of the actions that she has been taking and the behavior she's been exhibiting.
It's still not gonna keep her from going to the conference, and it's still not gonna keep her from going to the conference as a commissioner of CRW. So I'm not sure what you're hoping to accomplish with that, actually. You guys have somebody else in her place that will, so we don't lose money.
I couldn't hear the
I
last
think
thing you
there's-
said, Mike.
I think there's a possibility, I don't know, Lee can perhaps speak on that. There's a possibility to receive a reimbursement or change lodging, or send someone in her place.
I don't know, I mean, Doris, the one that handles our reservation, I think it is, I know, within X number of days before the conference, it's kind of a non-cancellation. Well, you pay it, I think is what the deal is.
It is.
That's my understanding.
Isn't the conference tomorrow?
It starts tomorrow.
It's unbelievable.
Mike,
She
and
gives you
I'll
any
tell you
more rope, you
why.
don't hang yourself.
Mike, I'll
It's
tell you why.
unbelievable.
Because I think what happened at this meeting today was really ugly. And I just, morally and ethically, I just cannot support someone representing this agency to the public and having an avenue and a venue to spread such ugliness.
Well, no one's preventing you from not leaving, just like you told me.
The issue for me is that, while I certainly don't approve of what she did most recently, it doesn't surprise me that she did it, because quite honestly, that's just where she is all the time. So I don't know that it's a whole lot different from all of the other ugly shots that she's taken, quite honestly, and I certainly don't approve of. So I would like to not see CRW waste that money, which looks like that's gonna happen. And she can end up going anyway. So I'm not, given the fact that I think CRW is gonna waste the money if we say no, I'm not inclined to do that.
If there is a way where we are not going to waste that money, would you approve the vote?
I don't think.
On a
we can-
condition?
I don't think we can find that out in the next little bit.
Commissioner Kemper, or Commissioner Kehoe, sorry, didn't mean to insult you, Barbara. I am a commissioner, whether you like it or not, and you have been working determinedly to consistently inhibit my ability to perform my function as a commissioner. And I believe this is just another example. And you, again, are making statements. You don't back them up. You just throw them out. And frankly, a lot of what has gone wrong, I think, in the last year is directly laid at your feet.
You are kidding,
Because
right, Pat?
you have.
You're joking now, right, Pat?
No, between the three of
Pat,
you,
Sorry, I thought that was
you
your
have,
point of
you
view.
have engineered false ethics complaints,
Pat, keep
legal
talking,
litigation,
because you
all
might.
to blacken my name. I just,
Keep talking, because you might sway Mike to vote in my way.
I mean, it's.
The thing I don't understand, in Oregon City, they voted to recall that, what was that little fellow's name?
Jim Nacita.
Jim Nacita. I don't understand why you continue on like this. You dislike her so much, why don't you just take and fill the paperwork out and have her recalled?
I don't dislike her, Grafton, I just don't agree with what she does.
Why don't you
It's not
fill the
personal.
paperwork out and have her
It's not-
recalled?
it's not
Just like the
personal.
citizens of Oregon City did,
Jim
the,
Nacita.
whatever his name is, Nacita. That's all you have to do. Then it's over with. If you're so right, just fill the paperwork out and have her recalled.
She's not a ratepayer.
Oh, that's true.
That's right. Oh, criminy sakes. That's right. You don't live in the district.
I do live in the district.
No, you don't.
I
You pay your water
Tricia,
bill to South Florida.
Oregon
you
City.
call the vote.
Or Oregon City, is that what it is?
Commissioner Cardwell,
No.
Commissioner Holloway,
No.
Commissioner Kemper,
Yes.
You actually have to abstain.
Commissioner Sterling,
Oh,
No.
whoops, whoops. Before it's all done, yeah, I have to abstain.
Commissioner Kehoe,
Yes.
it's 2 noes, 2 yes, 1 abstention.
So
So it
that's
fails.
the end, so, meeting adjourned.
Well, thank you for ignoring me once again, Cammie, 'cause